Bitcoin price drops, people panic, sell off, price goes back up, tickling 100K again, but Jamie Dimon still calls it a worthless tool for criminals and sex traffickers. Play nice, Jamie. The future is more digital than you think, and the bots are not going to take this sitting down. And to prove it, we're going to be looking at the insane progress in AI this week. Plus, a ceasefire in Gaza, Trump shooting his shot to end federal income tax. Yes, please. And in Conspiracy Corner, Drew, it looks like we have finally cracked the JFK assassination. Oh, and did a hot woman just thwart a Trump coup by getting a hopeful guy to spill government secrets? Again? And best of all, everybody, it is Community Day, so we're going to be taking your questions. Buckle up, everybody. This one is wild. Drew, let's roll.
I'm excited. I got the average cost down on my Bitcoin. It started at 90 on Monday, went back up to 100K today. So I'm celebrating. If you would have caught me on Monday, I would have been crying. But let's jump right into that, because I think we talked with Arthur Hayes last week, and you said it best. The volatility is the key. People like that. So how can people go through these emotions as they're going to keep seeing this price go up, down, up, down, up, down?
Okay, so here is the funniest thing in the world, that the best advice anyone is ever going to get about investing in the stock market is to buy low and sell high. Now, the reason that's become a cliche is because it's so obviously true that people just repeat it. Now, why is it still around? Because nobody does it. And this goes back to the elephant and the rider problem. People feel some kind of way because we can't see the future. And this is where everybody has got to get comfortable with the fact that investing, all of investing, I welcome you to join me in the comments. I will take the Pepsi challenge on this. I am waiting for somebody to really prove me wrong here. All of investing is gambling. Period. Full stop. Nobody has learned that lesson, not more painfully, but I'm just surprised that that's the reality. But it is the reality as far as I can see. So it is gambling because you cannot see the future. You are betting on a better future. And when the present drops, people have a hard time now believing that it will ever go up again. And so the emotion that you get is, oh my God, I'm an idiot. I'm a fool. I've got to cut my losses. I've got to get out of this. Everybody that said that this was just for sex traffickers, they're right. Oh my God, it's going to zero. And so people panic and they sell. If you remember the mantra, buy low, sell high, you ask yourself, well, if I bought at something that's lower than the price that it's at now, cool, go ahead and sell. But if you're instead trying to mitigate some of the gamble, have a thesis. As long as the thesis remains true, ignore your emotions. This is yet another reason why I tell people not to trust their emotions. Their emotion is not based on data. Their emotion is based on that one moment. They tell themselves a story about what it means in the future when the girlfriend looks at them and says, all you do is play Xbox and buy Bitcoin and you're a fool on both counts, right? So that emotion, because they have no clarity about what tomorrow brings, they're just like, I got to get out of this. And the problem is that most people end up selling at a loss. So I really want to orient people, if you're trying to weather the ups and downs, two things. One, remember the very thing that makes a whole bunch of people talk about Bitcoin is that it is volatile. Okay? Volatility is a feature, not a bug. Right now, I would love to see Bitcoin stabilize at some point so that it becomes boring, so that people have a place where they can store their wealth, where they know that I'm just protecting against inflation, the printing of money. And in the meantime, the reason people are so attracted to this is that because it swings up and down so much, the smart, patient, non-emotional people get to take your panic and turn it into their profit. Because if they can wait, when you panic sell and the price drops, and then they buy more, and then they let it rise again, you panic, they buy more, it rises again. And so all the people that are able to do that, as long as they end up being right, then they make money. And that's exactly the nature of the stock market. I'll give you my thesis on Bitcoin so you can see how a thesis investor, how this plays out. Now, of course, if the thesis ends up being wrong, you lose everything. And it's gambling. So my thesis is that the future will be more digital than today. And the most important, maybe one of the most important things that I will certainly stand by to digitize is money. So if we know that there's a whole host of benefits to money being digital, think of credit, right? You can buy things easily over long distances, instantaneously with a seller you've never met. Cool. We know that that's beneficial. without getting into the architecture of money and what is money and all that stuff, just know that, hey, that stuff can be digitized as well. It's called Bitcoin. There's obviously a whole bunch more, but the whole idea of the blockchain. Okay, so now are we peak digitizing money? Are we peak digital transactions, or is this going to go more? To give you an idea, right now anyway, AI agents only exist in the ethereal world. That won't be true for long. They're going to get bodies and everything, but they are probably always going to deal in the realm of digital currencies that they can interact with extremely rapidly. So when AI is trying to do something, and again, I don't think people understand how many AI are going to come online. Robots alone will be measured in the millions in the near term,
Sheesh.
Billions in the long term.
Sheesh.
Okay, so let's let that one sit there. So when, let's say I'm like, bro, go get me a coffee, it's got to buy that coffee. I don't want to have to give it money. I don't want to have to give it my credit card. I want to fund its account and say, you have a certain amount, Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDC, whatever. Now go buy that thing. So when I hear Jamie Dimon, who has the gall, the man deals in money, like cash dollars. If I'm going to a drug dealer, they want cash money. They want something that's untraceable, right? So money has forever been used to do the shadiest shit ever, but because it has so much other utility, we don't get hung up on it. The same is true of a digital currency. On a long enough timeline, it's just going to be money. It's going to be exactly the same. It will be used for illicit things. It will be used for normal things. And if I'm a criminal, or if I'm advising criminals, to the criminals in my community, I would like to say, don't use anything that's on a digital ledger, because while they might not be looking at you now, they will be able to track that down. It is the worst way if you want to remain invisible. So what the criminals are actually taking advantage of is the ease of digital money, not the inherent nature of Bitcoin, for instance. So that is that sort of convoluted thing. You've got the volatility. People want it because they want to bet and they want that big swing so they can capitalize on it. People that think that this is going to zero, it could. I mean, I can't see the future any better than anybody else, but I have a thesis in place. This is tomorrow's going to be more digital today. Therefore, more money is going to migrate into this kind of asset. Maybe it won't be Bitcoin and maybe I will lose, but I know it's going to be something like Bitcoin. And since that's the front runner now, it makes a lot of sense to me. It matches my risk profile. And so when the number bounces up and down, I don't even think about it. I don't sell. I don't check the number very often because I'm like, do I still believe that tomorrow will be more digital than today? If yes, then I'm going to hold. If no, then I'm going to sell because my thesis no longer makes sense. But it's not an emotional decision. It's as close to a logical decision as I can get to.
I love that. And let's kind of play that Jamie Dimon video so we can really dive into what he said.
You've said that it's as useless as a pet rock. What do you really think?
You're going to have some kind of digital currency at one point. So I'm not against crypto. You know, Bitcoin itself has no intrinsic value. It's used heavily by sex traffickers, money launderers, ransomware. So I just don't feel great about Bitcoin. I applaud your ability to want to buy or sell it. Just like I think you have the right to smoke, but I don't think you should smoke.
I think that was very disingenuous because he said, I like cryptocurrency. I just don't think Bitcoin has intrinsic value. So
I don't know how he squares that circle.
Yeah,
so here's what I want to ask him. What is the intrinsic value of a $100 bill? The intrinsic value. There isn't one. He's going to say, well, it's backed by the US government. Okay, cool. But what's the intrinsic value of the $100? And ultimately, the only real answer is if you light it on fire, you can release the energy that's stored within the bill. Literally. That's the only intrinsic value. Man, I'm not saying that's nothing, but it certainly isn't a lot.
Yeah.
So now you can get people onto gold. You're going to get people like Peter Schiff. Peter, shout out to you. Love you. Almost certainly going to talk about you later. But even gold, if you try to tie it to its value in manufacturing, you're not going to get very far. The reality is that people value it because it is tied to a store of wealth. And so they believe that it will have as much or more value in the future than it has today. And so they're willing to buy that as a way to store their wealth. It isn't that gold is some insanely intrinsically valuable thing. When I think about intrinsic value, you're going to get down to food, you're going to get down to shelter. Those are things that are intrinsically valuable. They can stop you from dying, right? So shelter keeps you from being exposed to weather, food, obviously. So those are things that have intrinsic keep me alive value. Everything else is subjective.
Yeah, I agree. It's a digital currency. That's the future. It might not happen now, but it's going to happen later. So I just want to shout out to all my Bitcoin holders. If you are a Bitcoin holder, throw a $sign into the comments. And I want
They would never do that. They would never. You want them to flash that B symbol, baby.
that
Come
B symbol.
on.
Do the
Drew
B
just
symbol.
outed himself
Do the B
as a
symbol.
noob. All right, we
Sheesh.
got to light Drew on fire for that one. That's
I got a
crazy.
meme for you guys.
The
Okay,
Bitcoin community is coming up to Drew. And now Drew's trying to get us to look at, what, pig testicles? What
Play
is
it.
this?
Play it. There it is.
That is hysterical.
This is for all my day ones who had Bitcoin in the dorm rooms when they said it was never going to go higher.
Oh, God.
You know, we were here from day one.
Drew,
So-
what have you done to me? I am never going to be able to get that image out of my mind. We could so fractal. Do you know that the size of an animal's testicles compared to its body tell you something about the level of promiscuity of that species?
So that's a hoe pig?
That is a hoe. That homeboy gets around because you need gigantic testicles to produce all the sperm because you're just going to try to sleep with as many women as you can because it isn't a silverback gorilla can have testes the size of a raisin because it literally just beats the hell out of all the other males and is like, these are my women, only I'm going to have sex. So it's like you get a sperm, you get a sperm because there's no competition. Now we can really fractal and get weird. If people want to trip out, in fact, we're going to talk about this later with the 15 or the women that slept with 1,000 guys. The penis is shaped like, it has like the mushroom tip to shovel out other male deposits. These are facts, dude.
Yeah.
How distressing is that?
You blew up the rundown, but I feel like we need to jump into it now.
The big 1,000 was completely done. So it started off, I'll give you a bit of an overview. After to start with, it was just like the room was absolutely full. Then we did groups of 5, like one after the other of 5s. I wanted to give people more time, so then it went down to like one-on-ones, didn't it? So like one person would watch whilst I was with somebody, and then it would literally just be like a rotating circle like that.
1,000 men. I feel okay.
1,057.
When
57 guys in a single day is the rounding error, it's like, bro.
That's where I was going to go with
Something has gone
that.
off track.
Everybody has a college story of like, oh, I know a girl who slept with 50 guys. Oh, 20
Really?
guys. Oh, 10 guys.
Wait. In a night?
Like some type
I don't have that story. I want to be very clear.
Okay.
I'm very sad now.
You
that I
know
don't
of
have that story.
somebody who has a promiscuous past.
Okay. Yes.
But
I'll
I
give
feel
you that.
like this is like the Mr. Beastification of like promiscuity.
Oh
like,
my God.
She didn't say
Were
I'm
there
sleep
challenges?
with. Yeah, like I'm not gonna sleep with 100 guys. I'm gonna sleep with 1,000 guys. And it's like, do you want a thumbnail? She did a breakdown. There was a post conference. What are we do? Like
Everything about this terrifies me. Okay, so setting the jokes aside, I worry about the algorithms running in her brain are going to punish her on a long timeline for this behavior. So I wasn't engaging with this kind of stuff culturally when it was happening, but when the whole men and women are the same thing was happening, it was like I heard the headline and I was like, the fuck out of here. Like that is the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life because from an evolutionary standpoint, evolution's never going to let that happen. So it's planting algorithms in the male brain and it's planting very different algorithms in the female brain. I encourage everybody with a stomach for lewd discussions to read the book A Billion Wicked Thoughts, which is Google engineers that sat down to look at all the searches that men do and women do, classify them, and then take psychological leaps as to what they mean. It was incredibly elucidating in terms of the way that men and women think about sex. Utterly fascinating. The quick breakdown is men are looking for as many women as they can because they're able to, with very little investment, populate the world with their children, right? So take Genghis Khan, who was incredibly successful at this game, and some absurd, like 14% of all that, it's not quite that high, but 10%, something like that, of all people in the world are related to Genghis Khan. Just insane. So that's a male strategy. You're never going to have a woman be able to do that because the investment that she has to make biologically is so gigantic. So she's going to spend 9 months with that humans have evolved to the point where if the head of a fetus got any bigger, women would not be able to walk. Jeez. So we're literally at that balance point where the hips have been widened as much as they can, tilted as much as they can anymore, and they're just not going to be able to move or walk. So we're in this like weird dance of, okay, this woman is going to do this incredibly dangerous thing to try to squeeze this gigantic brain out of her birth canal. Super risky. historically, it killed very distressingly high percentage of women. And so you're carrying it for 9 months. You take a huge risk when it's born. And then you've got to make sure that you take care of that post-birth, essentially gestation period, where you've got to raise that thing for a lot of years before it gets to the point where it's actually going to be able to take care of itself. So the female brain has been likened to a detective agency. And so they talk about that in the book. So a guy's just looking for sex, which is why you look at male pornography and it's literally just close-up shots of genitals. That's what a guy's here for.
Straight to action.
Yep. Not even just straight to action, straight to the genitals. And women, on the other hand, like they want to understand, like, is this guy going to be a good provider? And so a lot of their fantasy is relational in nature. It's mental, it's situational. And so if you want to understand what female pornography is, it's 50 Shades of Grey. It's a long novel about a relationship. It obviously has sexual elements in it, but it is all context dependent. It's the relationship with the person and what they mean and what it means about them and all this stuff. So they're trying to make sure that they identify this person is going to be able to take care of me when I'm at my most vulnerable, and then be able to help me take care of the child. They're going to have a propensity to provide me and the child with resources. And so it's just a totally different game. So back to sleeping with 1,057 women, I don't have any moral judgment. That's just not how my value system works. But I look at that and I say, ooh, those algorithms are running in your mind. And so you have overridden those, either with like a boss bitch mentality of, I'm going to control my own money. This is a ridiculously easy way for me to make money on OnlyFans, and I want to control my destiny. I want to take care of my family, whatever. I haven't seen her talk, so I can't swear that these are the words she's saying, but I'm going to guess that that is what's overriding these algorithms that she has running. And this isn't the same girl that slept with 100, is it?
No, this is like her homie though. They're in the same.
Okay, so
like,
when the girl cried after sleeping with the 100 guys, I saw a bit of that. I was like, yeah, this is the evolutionary algorithm kicking in, going, okay, that wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I had to disassociate, because you're overriding all of this natural impulse to like, whoa, who are you? Are you safe? My mom giving me the greatest insight into female sexuality when she said, for a woman to orgasm with you, she has to trust you. And I was like, whoa, that was super eye-opening for me. So anyway, she's overriding all of that, that wiring in her own brain. And so there's going to, I mean, look, it's always possible that her algorithms just, they're not there. Very unlikely. And I think there will be an internal emotional price to pay. And then one last fractal. We are both the shout and the echo. So we are what we do and what other people think about what we do. And she won't be able to escape that one. So she'll have a very cloistered group of people that love her, care about her, and maybe you're like, you know what? I love you. You go, girl. It's empowering no matter what. I'm here for you. And the larger world is not, because the larger world has these algorithms running in their brain. And men want a virgin. I'm obviously skimming quickly on a very hot topic, but I am just going to leave it there. Men want virgins. It's a thing. Because from an evolutionary standpoint, that's way better. You know the paternity. You know it's your child. And then women really scrutinize the men. So you now go out into the outside world and your face is everywhere as a woman that not only slept with 1,057 men, but slept with them in one night. You're triggering insecurities in guys. You're triggering shame. You're triggering disgust. And so you're going to get all of that back in spades. So the shout, I did this thing. I have built an internal value and belief system where I still feel good about myself. My friends echo back that it's all good. It's amazing. It's empowering. But the outside world is going to absolutely hit her with a tsunami of negativity, not just now, literally for decades to come. And so that won't be pleasant. And as much as I like to really reinforce in myself that I need to have a set of values that I live by, and no matter what other people think of me, as long as I'm living in accordance with those values, I'm good. I know that I am going to be influenced, necessarily so as a social animal, by what other people tell me about the things that I do. And so, woof, man, she's just, that's going to be tough.
I got a yes or no question for you.
Yep.
Do you think you could find 1,000 women to sleep with one man?
do I think I could find 1,000 women that will sleep with one man?
Yeah. So you know how she was a woman, slept with 1,000 men.
Yeah.
If it was inverse, do you think that scenario would happen?
Well, the inverse would be one man sleeping with 1,000 women.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Oh, I said it backwards? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Can you find a guy to sleep with 1,000 women? Not in a row. I mean, that would be pretty tough.
I mean, it was like 42 seconds per dude. So it's not like he was making, it's not intimate lovemaking. But
now I'm going to ask you a yes or no question. Can you maintain an erection for 12 hours, motherfucker? Like, because if you can, you got to teach this man because, oh my God, I don't even think I want to. You get damage to the penile tissue at like hour 4. They're like, you need to see a doctor. So, unless you literally like one thrust per girl, and even that logistically just sounds tough. Man, I can't fathom. Yeah, my neighbor once had a phlegmy cough that made me lose an erection, so I can't fathom going through 1,000 women. That just seems tough. Over a lifetime, I've got no beef. But if I got to rock it in a 12-hour period, I just don't think I can do it, man. I like to think I'm pretty tough, but whoa.
Yeah.
That's like the David Goggins of sex acts. That would be tough.
It's tense motherfucker right there.
That would be hard.
Yeah. I mean, you did it, Bonnie. Congratulations. I don't know.
Yeah,
I wonder what it does for her OnlyFans subs. Maybe she broke the internet. Who knows?
We'll get back to the show in just a minute, but first, let's talk about optimizing your health. The key to upgrading your diet isn't just about what you don't eat. The quality of your protein matters a lot. I learned this firsthand when my wife Lisa was struggling with massive gut issues. We realized that high quality meat made a massive difference. That's why I've been a Butcher Box member for years. There are no antibiotics, no added hormones, just pure, clean protein that powers real change. They deliver straight to your door and shipping is always free. Here is an incredible offer. Choose either 2 pounds of wild-caught salmon, 2 pounds of grass-fed ground beef, or 3 pounds of organic chicken breast to get free in every box for an entire year. You're also going to get an extra $20 off your first box when you use code IMPACT. Go right now to butcherbox.com/impact and use code IMPACT to upgrade your protein today. Now, back to the show.
Right. Moving on, AI, we've seen some crazy iterations with AI video lately. CES videos, we've been seeing a lot of the technologies, but AI has quietly become legitimate at making video. Like text to video has become insane, and it's not just 3 seconds. We have the Will Smith spaghetti side by side. It's like 2 tabs over, G.
Guys, when you watch this, I know this is old news, so I'm sure you've all seen it, but this is what I want people to take away is the rate of change.
Like a year, it was missing the mouth. And then now
it's crazy. When I think he like ends up turning into a spaghetti monster eating spaghetti. It is, because at first I thought maybe we're just being trolled and this is actually him eating spaghetti because it looks so real. And then he becomes like a full-blown spaghetti monster. And I was like, nope, this really is AI. I mean, it's just absolutely insane.
It's only a matter of time before TV, movies.
Dude, we have more clips. Show the next clips. There's one of, it's like almost sort of, we'll get to, not that one yet. That one's like, so yeah, this one. So speaking of movies, like look at this. This feels very video gamey, but obviously they typed in, they wanted that stylistic piece of it. But like, watch how it dodges the explosion. So even to the point where the patterns that the AI is picking up on is that a ship would dodge this, that, or the other. Now, once the AI is generating off of physics, so it isn't just guessing the next frame, it's guessing the next frame based on what it knows about physics. Wow. Yeah. Dude, this is happening so fast. I don't look out at the world and see people gasping as hard as I expect based on the rate of change, because it's the rate of change that's going to overwhelm people. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, this is crazy. Now show the one from CES, because this is like, once it starts outputting like really mundane videos, it was the one of the woman flying. You had it up just like, yeah, this one. So this just feels like, yeah, like super average, nothing super fancy. And Like this one, you'd go, bro, that's AI, because it's just not realistic. You wouldn't have open flames and stuff like that. So people will write that one off. But some of the subsequent ones in this sequence
in the thread,
are just absolutely crazy. Like if you scroll down, this one, dude, that just looks real.
Yeah.
People just wandering, but that one guy looks, I mean, oh my goodness.
The fact that everything in here is AI created. It's not just the one guy on the hoverboard.
Right.
It's the background. It's the props. It's the sets. It's the fake booths in the background. The name tags.
The name tags. That was what really got me. I was like, yep, that 100%. But that it knows in the prompt, when you say CES, it knows what CES is as a category of thing. And it knows that in that category of thing, people are likely to wear badges, but not everybody. I mean, it's just nuts. This is all happening so fast. So yeah, we are already at the point where you could do an individual shot in a movie for sure, using AI generation. But I really think where it's going to get crazy, what Jensen Huang was talking about at CES is we now have these graphic processors that are cheaper and faster. And the reason they're cheaper and faster is we render one frame. So, okay, we know all the light bounce and all that stuff. It's calculation. It's not pattern recognition. It's calculation. Then, which is essentially physics for light. Yeah. Then we have the AI go, oh, if it's like that, then this is what the next 3 frames look like. And so it AIs the next 3 frames, renders 1, AIs the next 3, renders 1, AIs the next 3. So now imagine I'm doing a movie, the next Marvel movie, and I want to do some crazy thing. I can go in, I can build my 3D models, and I can now just start doing keyframes. And AI is going to fill in all the gaps. And anybody that knows about how anime is done, that's exactly how they do anime. But so they'll have the really talented artist go in and draw like every 10th frame or something. Yeah. And then they have the cheap guys go in and fill everything in. It takes forever. It's extremely expensive. The industry is known for just abusing the life out of those poor people that do the in-betweens. And now it's just all going to be done just like that by AI. And that's the thing. Like right now, if you're getting filled with existential dread, for now, focus on, be the one that does the key animation. That's already the pipeline. It's just now it's going to be filled in by AI. And so it will be way better. It will be way faster. It will be way cheaper. So an individual person can go in and create tremendous works of art for cheap and fast. It's just really, really crazy. I was streaming about this today on Twitch, which by the way, if anybody's into gaming, you can catch me streaming Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, 6:30 a.m. Pacific time. And there's, in the gaming community, there's so much like existential unease about what's going to happen, man. What does this all look like? Yeah. And it gets scary real fast. And so this is where you got to get hold of those emotions, ground yourself. No one can see the future. It's possible we cap out rate of change, all that stuff. So just focus right now. What does this allow me to do? Focus on that. Get good at that. Don't allow yourself to stand still. That would be the only mistake.
100%. I think it's empowering to know that, okay, AI is going to do these things. It's going to take over these industries. But right now, I can make a really cool 30-second video. Right now, I can now have an editor right in my computer. Right now, I can do those things that I was limited to, my limited capacity of animation, my limited capacity of rendering. 100%. So there is a level of opportunity there if you could just get over the existential threat and meaning crisis.
For sure. And that is coming, but that's a whole nother video. Yeah.
All right. And you know what else is coming? Your man Trump. January 20th is right around the corner, and he has already started rolling out his new regulations. This is kind of funny. Can we pull up that Trump tweet on Truth Social? He officially announced the External Revenue Service.
Oh, God. I would be lying if I said when I read this, I didn't like get sucked into a populist sugar rush. How did you feel when you read that?
This, to me, I laughed because I was like, he announced a new regulation under the guise of like fewer regulations. It's like a new agency.
A new agency. Yeah. We're going to slash government except for this one that we're going to add.
Technically, he added 2 because now he added Doge. Now he's actually an external.
Well, Doge is just an advisory committee that has an end date. Okay. But this one really is a whole nother agency. But I really did have a populist sugar rush when I read this. We're going to talk about the realities of this because it's not as clean as Trump is going to want you to believe. But the idea of, hold on, everybody, I'm really here fighting for you, for Americans. I am going to find a way to get the government off your back. the joke since I was a little kid is the only two certain things in life are death and taxes.
Yep.
And so what he's saying is, no. Maybe that's not a forever thing. And maybe we can get back to where, because I don't think many people know this, we didn't have a federal income tax for a long time. And then it got put in, I think, around World War I. Don't quote me on that, but it was a war. It was like, we got to get something in here. And so they put that in place. And for a long time, it was very low, like 1% once they did introduce it. And it's really only in a relatively modern context. So I'm going to say the last 100, 150 years, probably closer to 150. But anyway, you get the idea that it wasn't a forever thing in our country. We went for a long time without it. Now, I think it's important to understand Peter Schiff had some pushback. Did I send you that tweet?
Yeah,
I think I did. It's in the doc. Yep. Pull that up. It's interesting. So the first thing I did was I had the populist sugar rush. And then I was like, all right, hold on a sec. I know better than to trust my emotions. This feels too good. The idea of not being taxed. How realistic is this? And I think we're going to see an absolute tsunami of people that are like, look, this is not going to end the way you think. This is what Peter Schiff had to say. If you're listening, I'll read it. Instead of eliminating government agencies, Trump just promised to create a new one, the External Revenue Service. But all the revenue collected will be paid by Americans who buy imported products. If Trump actually believes what he is saying, the nation is in a lot of trouble. And so what Peter's getting at there is Trump doesn't understand the complexities of the economy. And if he really thinks this is going to work, he's a fool, and this is going to backfire in everybody's face. All right, I'm going to walk us through the steel man of his argument. Mark Andreessen was recently, I think this was in his Hoover Institute interview, which anytime you can listen to Mark Andreessen, do, including the episode I did with him. But he is a phenomenal thinker, and he said, look, what Trump understands is system level thinking. I will round that to, he gets the gist of it. He knows how the pieces connect. He's not going to be able to give you all the details, but he really is in the weeds. He gets how one thing connects to another. And so if you're turning to him for, dates and precise measurements, no, he's not going to know that part of it. Mm-hmm. But the rough gist of how the system works, yes, he actually does get it. Now, the counter argument to what Trump is doing, because I get what he's trying to do, and I love the idea of being able to return America to where we either have very low federal income tax or no federal income tax would be great. We're certainly not getting there in 4 years. I literally can't imagine that world. But the steelman argument on the Peter Schiff side of why this isn't going to work goes something like this. Yes, we have been there historically. Nobody's lying to you that says that there was a time in American history where we did not pay federal income tax. And yes, we ran the government largely off of tariffs that we were getting from other people. The problem was that America and the world was relatively isolationist already. Mm-hmm. So manufacturing was incredibly strong in the US. We farmed basically everything that we ate here in the US. And so back in that day, the government was very small. Governments were already more or less isolated. We could get everything that we needed here in the US. And so people that were trying to come into the US market going, whoa, you guys have a lot of people and I'd love to have access to them. We could tariff them at that point because Americans were used to buying American stuff anyway. And so the things that were going to come in maybe would undercut or whatever to reach that market. And so it just left parity. So the people that wanted to get into the market, they could get into the market. We made a fortune off of the rate that we were charging them to come into the country. Mm-hmm. Technically, the way that it's paid is actually by the importer. Anyway, we don't need to get into that. I know it just to stop the comments from derailing. So yes, I understand how that works, but just to keep it nice and simple for argument's sake, a good tries to come into your country, you're able to collect off of that, and then you're able to fund the government. Okay, now the government obviously is much larger. We have massive entitlements. And so what we would be able to collect from tariffs, I just cannot fathom. Mm-hmm. And I'm very open. Hey, if there's an economist out there that can show me how I'm wrong, I'm not a dogmatic thinker. I'm always interested in things that update my thinking to something that's more accurate. Mm-hmm. But I don't think we could ever tax, it is a type of tax. I don't think we could ever tariff goods enough such that we would be able to meet the level of crazy, drunken, absurd, wanton spending that we currently do in the government. Okay. Could we shrink government? Yes, hopefully Doge does a little bit, but nobody's going to touch entitlements. And until you do that, you're not going to make that kind of progress. Okay. So there's that part. Then there is the fact that we are very globalized at this point. And so we count on even our drones that the military uses, the vast majority of them are made in China. So China, if I can do my China, I got to get better at that. So that's crazy. And we shouldn't do that, because if we're in a Cold War, as I think we are, and should that Cold War ever get spicy, you don't want the enemy making your weapons. So that's a little crazy. So we're an extremely globalized economy now. And so if you go, all right, everybody that's trying to bring goods into this amazing American economy, we're going to tariff you. And then Americans are going to be like, time out, bro, because that's the only place I can get that thing is from China, Paraguay, El Salvador, whatever. And so I'm not left with an option. And so now you just told me that prices are going to be coming down, but prices are going up like crazy. So don't love this. So you are going to get that. Okay, that's the steel man of that side. It's far more complicated now. Our spending is way bigger. We're extremely globalized. So all the things that made it work in the past, we do not have the same setup. I do think that it's important to acknowledge over time, of course, we would begin to onshore things again. We would have to build back up our manufacturing base. And doing that for people that really had an allergic reaction to the H-1B visa, who was like, I've already talked about my thoughts on this, but if America First to you means you hire American workers, then you're going to love this. You'll have a few years of like not so great because you're going to need things to come back onshore. And then also, and I think this is the most important part of this, is that I believe it is way better to let people decide what they want to spend essentially their tax dollars on. So it would go like this. Yes, goods are more expensive, but my income tax has dropped dramatically. And so my income tax drops dramatically. I'm now spending that saved money onto the things that I want to buy, some of them, because many things, especially essentials, you'll be able to get that are made here, or they could even tariff selectively such that things like food and stuff like that, they don't touch.
Exempt from it,
Exactly. So now you're basically making tax dollars discretionary. I can spend them as I see fit. What I love about that is autonomy, and my hobby horse about you need to let the person who saves money win. And that puts somebody in a position where if they're willing to forego all of those other goods and they want to live a really fire life, F-Y-R-E, then let them do that. I think it's F-Y-R-E, right? The people that really limit their life. I probably should have looked that up before I quoted that, but it's FIRE, no matter what the acronym stands for. I can't remember now. Financial. If it's independence, oh God, then it's FIRE, F-I-R-E. Anyway, someone will put that in the comments, which is the right one. But people that really want to live a sort of monastic life, but just save. So you now give them an opportunity to get ahead. And that to me, like if Trump can begin the process of putting America on that path where, all right, I get to keep a very substantive amount of my paycheck, prices are going to go up, but on things that are discretionary spending, not my essentials, then I think people would start feeling really good about that really fast. But I do want to acknowledge it's not like a simple thing. Like they're going to have to be deft about it.
I think it's where I see it, it's an oxymoron because yes, you can remove our federal tax dollars, but we're going to have to subsidize the onshoring of a lot of these industries, which is going to increase our government spending. So then they'll need those tax dollars. And so it's one of those things where it's like the government will have to spend more to bring the factories back, to subsidize the first level of farmers who plant our almonds so we don't go across the seas again. Like we'll have to set those people up to make it America first and America manufactured at least.
Sort of. So a lot of times the way that subsidies work is through not collecting tax revenue versus actually outlaying raw dollars. Now, I haven't looked at this. I'm not close to this at all. I'm just saying there are levers that they can pull. So for instance,
I was thinking the solar thing where it was like the cash grab of we're doing solar farms now. So then it created a wave of people going into the solar industry because they knew they could get those federal subsidies for certain things.
Correct. Yeah. And if Trump is able to pull this off, we could get ourselves to the point where we were selling energy to the rest of the world. So not only are we energy independent, but that we can now sell. So there are things that we could do that would, by deregulating a lot of this stuff, by mining minerals and ores that are, I forget how many of the like critical things have been discovered in America, but we have more resources than we have tapped that we're regulated away from doing. When you start to deregulate, you get innovations like fracking. And I know that's super controversial, but when you let people explore options like that, you're going to see more and more stuff like that. I'm not super close to the problem, but my understanding is that we could become energy independent, have a surplus, and be able to sell it.
That would be,
but we would have to go back to coal. Yeah. We would have to stay on fossil fuels. And so I don't know about the coal thing. I could be wrong about that. Certainly fossil fuels. And then seeing the nuclear plants being spun up by companies, there are a lot of options that if we get the regulatory environment correct, that we could really have potential there in terms of being able to not just tariff people, but generate by selling into other economies.
Yeah. I'm hoping for it because I would love to not see that federal tax line on my paycheck.
You and me both.
So yes. Something we're not going to see is fire in the Middle East, at least for the next couple of days. We celebrated the ceasefire, but Ben Shapiro gave us a sobering tweet of the reality of this situation. Let's break it down.
Yeah, I think this is important to note. So the hostage deal is not an end to the war. This is a temporary ceasefire. So for anybody that is optimistic, I love that. Be optimistic. I think
they were celebrating.
Really this is worth celebrating. Shout out to everybody involved. Shout out to Biden. Shout out to Trump. Like, love it. Love to see it. I think this is absolutely fantastic news for all of us concerned. And let's also remember that this is not the end of the war. The odds that this goes hot again are very high. I'll be interested to see how this plays out, but they specifically would not agree to some of the things like in fact, we can just read what he put. Where is it? He covered this well.
On the third one, yeah.
So what does all of this mean? First, that some hostages will come home alive. This is an unmitigated good. It would have been excellent to get more hostages out, but that option was presumably unavailable given Hamas's radical intransigence and the waning health of many of the hostages. Second, that the war will continue until Hamas has no control over Gaza. Trump's nominees have said as much. So has the Israeli government. The Trump team squared the circle. The Biden team undoubtedly wanted a permanent end to the conflict as a condition of the hostage release. Team Trump presumably told Hamas that wasn't going to happen and that this was the best deal they were likely to get. So yeah, the odds that we're still back in that very uncomfortable situation where Israel's not going to back down until Hamas is completely a non-entity in Gaza, and Gazans don't feel like they've got Israel basically in the open air prison. So it could still get very weird, but this is a super encouraging step. And I saw Trump's tweet about this. I don't know if we have it or not, but he said basically this is a really great indication. Hopefully we can continue to make progress with the Abraham Accords. So it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be interesting. I really can't stop myself but be hopeful. I'm well aware that that's an emotion, and I am very convinced that one should distrust their emotions, but I'm going to enjoy this one at least for a few days before it becomes real.
Exactly. Take the win, celebrate, let them people come home, and we'll deal with the next step when we get to the next step. You ready for your tinfoil hat?
I'm ready. Let's put it on. Conspiracy Corner, everybody.
All right. This is starting to become my favorite segment.
I think that, we're going to have a lot of fun with this in 25. So I never know if how much credence to give these. I give them very little. Admittedly, this to me is an entertaining aspect, though conspiracies have a crazy way of proving themselves to be true. But what do you have for us? What's up first?
All right. So Alex Jones tweeted, so asterisk right there, that the historic JFK evidence dropped, that he found who was behind it, and it was LBJ.
Did you listen to it?
I got like 30 minutes in, but the grainy, old schooly like voice kind of got me out of it.
Interesting. So we won't play the whole thing here, but basically it is a very clear tape, and it is audio of the former executive director of the DNC and close associate of LBJ. This is me reading the Alex Jones tweet. Clifton Carter admitting that LBJ hired Mac Wallace to assassinate JFK. It is not ambiguous at all. He just straight says, I didn't love it, but I'm an LBJ guy, and so we did it, and that's just that. And I was like, damn. Now, admittedly, in the age of AI, I just assume all this stuff is fake. So I will wait for somebody to play it. Had you ever seen that before? I'd never seen this ultra high def
with the color
up-res of Kennedy getting shot. Pretty gruesome.
Crazy.
Makes it pretty clear where he got shot from just by the way that the blood explodes. But again, it's been up-res so much, I don't know how much it can be believed. But anyway, I am the world's headliniest reader on the JFK stuff. So I will leave you guys to check it out. But if Trump goes into office and starts declassifying this stuff and we just get a wave of this, of just the raw answers, man, of the man is political animal.
Hey, I'm gonna go black pill for a second.
Take it, sir.
FBI came out and said that they killed Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. They gave us all the alien documentaries and all that. They was like, yeah, Area 51, we got aliens right now. They told us everything, but the JFK files for some reason are double sealed in a safe, like locked up. And for me, it seems that they have been willing to back up and backtrack, and even the weapons of mass destruction, like there have been so many times where government was like, my bad, we were lying. Like we didn't really mean that. This is what actually happened. And this is the one thing from the longest time frame that is still like, nah, you'll never know what happened. So to me, it's like, maybe it was an inside job that it came from somebody who then took the position of the White House. And maybe that's why he didn't want it unsealed. And
here's the really bad news. I'm like, oh, okay. Dude, I don't even know what to do with that.
Yeah.
So let's just thought experiment. I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm saying thought experiment. Let's say there really is real tape. It's really what happened. LBJ, the vice president, had the president murdered so that he could step into the White House. That is unimaginably dark. Yeah. And yet, because it happened so long ago, and I've just seen so many crazy things that you just go, okay. It literally didn't even change my day. I wasn't even like, oh my God, this is crazy. I was just like, oh, that's what happened? Like, it's almost way more boring than some of the books about the assassination, which are way more like CIA goes and gets. And maybe it's just because the only things I've ever read about it are like the downstream. Yeah. And so you hear all the, like, they went and got this guy and he was trained here and they had to lie about this and take him to the DMV. And so it just seems so coordinated. Whereas this is just like, yeah, we just had him killed. It is what it is. Like, there's something about the banality of it all that is just, it's in keeping with what I already believe about humans. That's the terrifying part. Like, if you read history, this is like not that big of a deal, man. Like, this is just what humans do.
Yeah, Genghis Khan is laughing right now.
Bro. Dude, honestly, if you're in my community, and you're not already, you would love reading about history. It is so fascinating. There's a book I'm reading right now. In fact, I need to check on this tweet because I tweeted about this yesterday. I'm reading a book called Blood and Thunder. And it's about the conquest of America. There's no easy way to say it. So we fucking took Mexico, which went all the way up through California. We're just like, we'll take that bitch. Obviously, Native Americans wiped out. Crazy. And you read about those times and you're like, hold on, wait a minute. Like, that's how people treated each other? Dude, it is the most brutal, gruesome litany of murders in the coldest blood you can imagine. Every page is an episode of I Shouldn't Be Alive. And half the pages are, oh, everybody's dead. I mean, it's just, but like dead in like really horrible, nasty ways. Yeah. And you're just like, yo, humans are capable of insane shit. So the only thing that makes this kind of crazy is that it's so high level and that they hid it for so long, but it isn't like more gruesome. It's not more evil. It's just like, humans do a lot of evil shit, like up close evil shit. I mean, kill the woman, cut open the womb, take out the baby evil shit. Sheesh. Yeah. It's nuts. So anyway, that was my take on LBJ. just running the thought experiment of it's all proved. Yep, it's it. I'm going to shrug and just like move on.
Man,
that's weird. I don't know that I like that, but that is true.
I respect it. All right, so we went back in the day. So I'm gonna give you a current one, and maybe this kind of changes it up a little bit.
All right, another conspiracy. Let's
go. Investigative journalist James O'Keefe, who is
oh my god,
who is swipe exposing people. I'm never going on a date with anybody in DC.
Ever.
This is
Dude,
crazy.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
He exposes a guy named Jamie Marina, who prides himself.
Menina or Marinina? Looks like Menina from here.
That's how I read it, but James said he added an R in there, so I'm gonna say Jamie. Exposed himself as a former FBI agent, called himself a spy hunter, and meanwhile was just telling all the tea to his date. He talked about how he is working with 1, 2, and 3-star generals, how he ghost wrote a bunch of op-eds to try to smear Donald Trump in order to defeat him. He ghost wrote for things that went to the Wall Street Journal, the National Journal. This is literally what the deep state is. Like, it's somebody who's working for the government, actively lying, manipulating, trying to stop a political person from winning, all because if Kamala would have won, he would have gotten a bigger job. Like, this is at least, it's more than a yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. So here's how I read this one.
0 for 2.
No. This one I love in the weirdest way possible. So, one, I think you had somebody here that started out as a true believer. Like, he really believed that the government was manipulated by the Russian government. Our election was manipulated by the Russian government. So he joins the FBI so that he can fight that. And so there's like this noble impulse, right? So this guy is like such a mixed bag. Mm-hmm. So you've got maybe noble impulse. Okay. Will to power is always mixed in there, but I'm going to grant him noble impulse to make the country better, but then gets caught up in the, well, this isn't my guy, tribe of it all. I don't care if I have to lie, slander, do sort of back channel nefarious things to try to get this guy taken out. I'm going to do them. They're calling this an attempted coup. Do I believe it's an attempted coup?
Yeah, attempted coup.
Extraordinary claims are going to require extraordinary evidence. So no. Okay, so that's point one. That to me is sort of the surface level, like, yep, that's what I expect. Human's going to human, it's power plays and all of that. The thing that makes me laugh, and it makes me laugh because I'm one of them. Okay, I want to be very clear. But you can manipulate men with sex in a way that I find absolutely hilarious. And this guy is literally spilling secrets to impress a girl. And that it's so predictable that this is like a time-tested spy thing. This is a time-tested business thing, right? Mm-hmm. Get a guy laid and you're more likely to get the sale. This is just a hilarious fact about men. Like, if they think they can win over a pretty girl, they will just tell them things that they obviously shouldn't be telling them. It's so crazy. Like, she's giving off signals so hard. At one point in the interview, he actually says, "Are you a spy?" or whatever word he uses. And she's like, "No, I'm not, but that'd be cool." It's like, bro, what is happening? These guys are so easy to trap. People have made videos like, I can't remember if it was Dave Chappelle, but somebody did like a whole comedy thing about, dude, if you're an average looking guy and a hot girl wants to take you out, it is James O'Keefe. Like, he is trying to get you. Oh my God. And they still, and when I say they, I'm saying, look, man, there's something about an attractive woman reaches in and it just squeezes your brain in this really weird way. Now, I want to be very clear. My value system is such that I'm with my wife and will be forever. That's my shtick. But I'd be lying if I said I don't get what's happening to the male brain. I get it. And so, oh man, do people get suckered in by it. It is hysterical.
Man, well, he has since been fired. So he was doing all that to impress a girl and then he lost his job.
Bro. Brutal.
All right, now for the best part of the week. We're answering your questions. We're going to hop into the community corner. Let's pull some stuff up. All right, now these are from our Tom Bilyeu Show episodes as well as our full-length interviews that drop on Tuesday. So we have some from our Alex Hormozy episode that just dropped.
Let's go.
Be sure to check it out. Okay, our first one. Out of curiosity, what Myers-Briggs personality type are you? I am INTJ.
Very strangely, I am also an INTJ.
Oh, nice. Twinsies.
So I don't remember what that all means, but I remember that those were the 4 letters,
Yeah.
INTJ.
I'm an ENFJ. And
Now, we were talking about this off camera, and I can see her right now. She's literally looking at us. She's like, that's all bullshit.
yeah.
She would never say those words, but that was the punchline. So our Stanford grad is like, nah.
Nah. Get
Not
it out,
real.
guys. What are you
It's
doing?
all fake. But in the, I think Will called it male horoscopes. So in the male horoscope, I'm an INTJ. Take it for what you will.
What's your actual horoscope?
I have no idea. Oh, Aries.
Aries, nice.
I don't buy into that.
I know.
Way less than I believe in INTJ. It's so funny because just off over that way, I know Eunice is rolling over right now because she is like a big believer. I'm like, no, I don't buy it.
Doing a simple search of leaked Andrew Tate videos on YouTube will promptly dissuade anybody from pulling him in a leadership position. I watched how he and the other two others who were sitting with him gave advice on manipulating and isolating females so they serve you and put up with crap. I was physically nauseated over it.
Okay, is there a question though? What's the? None of that seems bad in terms of yeah.
This is
I
in
get that
response to
reaction.
him starting the Bruv Party and his run for UK. I guess this person is saying that it should be disqualifying that they have that history.
I see. Do I agree that it should be disqualifying? I don't agree that it should be disqualifying. I think people should be able to run for office unless there's a rule in your country that if they've been convicted of a crime, whatever. Morals should be what the people are voting on. So if you think that Andrew Tate does not represent the values that you want your country to represent, then absolutely do not vote for that person.
Period.
Campaign against him. Convince other people that those are not the values that you want at the center of your country. But again, going back to this idea of there are some people that are allowed in polite society and there are some that are not, that to me is so dangerous because you're adjudicating thoughts, values, beliefs, that's going to get turned on you for sure. So you want to set up your rules. So, hey, if he gets convicted of a crime and you want to say anybody that's been convicted of a crime, the way I think about this in a company is do everything at the level of policy. Once you're doing it to one person, now you've got a problem. So how do you take Andrew Tate and his disgusting morals and how do you make that a policy? If you can make it a policy that applies equally to everybody, okay, cool. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what laws are. But when you're like, nah, I don't like this guy and I don't like him because of the way that he treats women, now you create this really weird thing where it's like, well, where's the hard binary line of treat women okay, treat women poorly? Beyond that, it should be a battle of ideas.
Nice. You got $1 billion. Go move in near Tony Robbins and Pat Bet David. I took this as
about Florida.
Yeah, I took this as like, I know you're not originally from California, but a lot of millionaires do get rich and they flee and they say, I get away from here. What's keeping you in the state, you think?
What's keeping me in the state is that I've been here for over 30 years. California is amazing, incredible geography, incredible weather, terrible policies. That's the right way to think about California. I've got a business here. So the thought of having to convince all of you guys to move to Florida, that sounds horrible. The even worse thought of you guys saying you're not moving with me to Florida and then I have to replace everybody. I'm not saying it's impossible, but that really doesn't sound fun. So I won't say never, but that's always been the thing that stops me is I love it here. It's moving in the wrong direction. So I really want to see it move back in the other direction. But there is a line that if they crossed, I would leave. And they're really getting close. Like every time I deal with something stupid on company regulations, I'm like, okay, I just moved a step closer. I moved a step closer, a step closer. So I will say this. If I had kids, I would have already left.
Ooh.
So I don't think, let me not be bombastic. Okay. Because I don't have kids, I haven't thought a ton about this. Mm-hmm. But I really believe right now that it is very high risk to raise a child in California because anybody that can say, we are not going to tell you that your kid is identifying as a different gender at school, and we're going to keep that from the parents, that's a hard pass. That's saying that this child is the government's child and the parents can't be trusted with the child. So my base value system, belief system is you absolutely trust that parent with that child. Now, unfortunately, I'm all too aware that there will be a percentage of kids that will be absolutely destroyed by their parents, destroyed. But I will take that trade over letting the government destroy those children. Absolutely not, hard pass. So for me, I would have left. the second they were like, and now I'm pretty sure it's in law that you don't have to tell parents if the kid is living a different life at school. That's a hard pass because of what it signals. So, but I don't have kids, so.
That's real.
Does
Tom,
it?
is it too late to become set up to absorb the cultural and economic impact AI will have on our society?
Is it too late to become set up to absorb? We're going to absorb it whether we want to or not. So if they're saying too late to get set up to profit from the cultural and economic impact,
set themselves up for success. Let's put it that way.
100%. Yeah, get after it. The people that wield AI the best are going to win. And then this is interesting. I've never thought about this before. I love these questions. People need to understand the gambling game of finance, because there is a very possible future in which one of the things that people end up doing is really getting good at gambling, meaning that they're treating, I don't want to betray myself and call it investing, but that's what I'm talking about. That they will suddenly have a lot of free time. They will be looking for ways to get ahead, because remember, all that matters is, do you have more than the next person? And the human psyche is weird like that. Gini coefficient, I won't go down that road right now, but I think people will, a huge portion of people will spend an inordinate amount of time, like what's happening during COVID, where they could basically get away with not working. And they just all turn to the stock market, crypto, all that stuff. And so I think a lot of people are really going to turn to that as a way to get ahead. I think it's ultra high risk. I do not recommend it. But that prediction seems like it has a high likelihood of coming true. So that would be, get good at using AI in the short term. Really think about what brings meaning and purpose to your life. That nothing will matter but that, no matter how much money you accumulate. If you don't feel like you matter to somebody, you're going to have a real problem. So figure that out. And then I think a lot of people are going to begin to try to win at the game of finance, because they will finally understand. The average person is so busy, they don't have time to think about this. They're finally going to understand that they can generate freakish amounts of wealth by playing the financial game. You can bet on whether a stock goes up or down. That's real. And like the traditional finance market, not like poly market. Like you can go to the US stock market and be like, I think Tesla's going to go down. Fuck them. And bet and win, or bet and lose, as the case usually happens with people betting against Elon. But like, that's so fascinating. So you're going to see a huge rash of that. But I will take the time to say, remember, because I think he said prosper. I forget what word he used. The ultimate thing in life is fulfillment. That's it. That's the best thing that you're ever going to get. It's the only mental state that survives even grief. And that's work hard, gain a set of skills that matter to you, that allow you to make progress towards a goal that allows you to uplift yourself and others. Find that formula, no matter what AI is doing, and you're going to be great. And I heard somebody today say, have cheap hobbies. I thought that was brilliant. One of my favorite things to do is read manga. Manga costs like $9 for an entire volume. So find a cheap hobby.
Nice. Love it.
And fall in love, if I can really put a cherry on top.
But not with AI.
Not with AI. And by the way, can we get to my default? The default answer is fulfillment, requited love, meaning somebody that loves you back, have kids. I don't have kids. I understand that. But I still think it's the default path. I won't give my whole spiel right now as to why, but don't violate that. Don't deviate from that path unless you have a very compelling reason.
Copy. Okay, when you are not getting, this was on our Alex Hormozy episode. When you are not getting results, how do you know why? If you're stuck, it doesn't work, you did not perfect the process enough, need more time, or need to get more volume. It seems like this person is stuck. He tried something, it didn't work. How do you recommend people kind of figure it out and problem solve?
Okay, I'm going to go as fast as I can on this one because I talk about this a lot. It's something called the physics of progress. There's only one way to make progress in life. It's essentially the scientific method recontextualized for business. You're going to start with where's your goal? Where do you want to end up? The big problem is most people just don't know where they want to go. They have a vague idea, but they don't like real specifics.
5,000 in sales, 10 million views, whatever the...
On this platform by this date. Yeah. So what, how much, by when? So you're going to have a goal. What, how much, by when? And then you're going to come up with your clear vision of why you won't get there automatically. And that's another way of saying you're going to identify the obstacle that stands between where you are now and the goal you're trying to achieve. Once you know what stands between you and your goal, you're going to say, okay, what's my best guess at overcoming that obstacle? And then you're going to turn that into a thing that you can do. And before you do that thing, you're going to say, I expect when I do this thing that it's going to move this key performance indicator. For instance, I'm going to go get my MBA, and I think that it's going to allow me to get a raise at my job of $100,000, whatever. Okay, cool. Get the MBA, see if it works, right? That's a long term, so probably a terrible example, but you get the idea. I'm going to do this thing and I expect it to have this result. Now, if when you do that thing, it doesn't yield that result, then you were wrong. Your assumption was incorrect. This is where everybody lies to themselves. They make it about somebody else is to blame, but you just say, okay, by doing this thing, I expect this result. You do the thing, you don't get that result, and you say, why didn't I get that result? Did I fundamentally misunderstand the problem? Did I go about this the wrong way? What? You get a little bit smarter, not a lot smarter, but you're going to get a little bit smarter. You're going to then come up with a better guess on how you're going to overcome that obstacle based on the new thing that you learned by your recent failure. And you just literally live in that loop. And to do that, though, you have to believe that failure is the most information-rich data stream on planet Earth. Because when you fail, you're going to get an echo back from the world that you're a loser. And given that you are both a shout, the thing that you did, and the echo, people telling you that you're a moron, most people break and they just give up because emotionally they can't handle being embarrassed. And so they try once, they fail, and they stop. But if people could understand the very nature of progress is failing and getting a little bit smarter. That's the nature of progress. That's why I call it the physics of progress. There's nothing else, nothing below that. There's no other thing. There's not like a guy out there that's smarter than me that's doing something different. That's all anyone ever is doing anytime they make progress, period, end of story. Best guess, try it out, see what you think is going to happen, say it ahead of time. It either does or doesn't, get a little bit smarter, and you just repeat. But you have to survive the emotional difficulties of failure. Most people don't, which is why most people never achieve their goals.
Love it. Your job used to be creating useful, high-value self-improvement content. Then that's what I subscribed for. But I guess you got a new job. No longer be legendary. Now it's be afraid.
That is very clear, their feeling. Okay, so here is my take on that. So I am deathly afraid of spending my time creating spiritual entertainment. So what do I mean by spiritual entertainment? In the beginning, when I was doing just the empowering content, I was giving people my best ideas as fast as I could talk, things that I had turned into tremendous wealth, success, accolades, blah, blah, blah. A successful marriage, if all you care about is the intangible things in life. So money may not be able to buy you love, but a set of ideas will help you find and maintain love. I will tell you that. So I was giving everybody those ideas as fast as I could talk, and virtually nobody was doing anything with them. And I realized that people were entertained, they felt better, but they weren't actually making progress. Okay, so fair enough. But I was getting bored. So I was like, I've said these things like 1,000 times. They're all out there. Anybody that wants that content, by all means, go avail yourself of it. And I certainly do not begrudge anybody who's like, this isn't what I signed up for. You've taken the content somewhere I'm not interested. I want to unsubscribe. Cool, no worries. When COVID hit, I realized, oh, wait a second, the world isn't what I thought it was. And so because the whole point of me doing that content was to actually help people, not to be spiritual entertainment, but rubber meets the road. Am I helping you make your life better? Because that I can show up and fight for. To repeat the same things over and over, to give you a slight high, and then everything returns back to normal, not interesting to me. So it's like, no matter how much money I could have made doing that, it's just not interesting. So I realized, whoa, the world isn't what I thought it was. I had to rapidly update my mental model of what is really going on. And I realized the only reason that I built a mindset for me was to be able to alter the world in a way that was better for myself and for others. Okay, cool. Well, now I'm realizing that there is a level of fuckery that really bothers me and is people are getting slapped around by. And so I want to take an effective mindset, again, going back to the physics of progress, and just apply it to the most important issues of our day. One, it's extremely intellectually engaging for me. I have found it extremely useful in my real life. And I hope that if people treat me like an AI, they don't treat me as a person who knows everything. They treat me as a person who gives them a very strong, sincere take on something that's wrong in some way. I certainly don't know in what way it's wrong, which is why I'm saying it. But they will hopefully very wisely get a whole bunch of people that give them that look, they look at all these different people giving them a take, and they're like, cool, I think I have a better idea of what this is. And then they go off and do their thing. One, it allows me to learn about the things that really matter to me in life, and then I can share the things that I'm learning. So it felt like the application of mindset in the real world. That's engaging to me. Mindset as an abstract content of spiritual entertainment just got really dull.
Love it. I just thought this was interesting. He said, I'm good on this dude, but I hate listening to him. You replied in a comment, any particular reason? And he says, he makes me feel resentment for things I value, like having a family and prioritizing non-financial goals. And I think it was important to highlight this because just because some people want to get rich, that doesn't mean everybody wants to get rich.
Yes. So, okay. Heard. I understand. I get why somebody would have that emotional reaction. This is now why I want people to distrust their emotional reaction. So whether it was me or Alex that made him feel some kind of way about that, if you believe because somebody else lives a certain way, that you either have to convince them of your way, or that because they believe it, then you have to adopt, and you're like, oh, but man, this feels so icky, I don't want to adopt this, then yeah, you're gonna emotionally rebel against the stuff, you're gonna push back. If, on the other hand, you just look out at the world and you say, all these people are, when you're engaging with somebody at the level of, I'm listening to a podcast, don't look at your wife this way or your kids this way, but like you're engaging with ideas. These are people that are offering me a lens on the way that they think to achieve the things that they want to achieve. And I've always told people, be careful who you take advice from. If you want to be a great parent, then don't take advice from me. I don't have kids. So I'm giving you a lens on life. And you can just take that as like, oh, cool. I want to, for a minute, look at life through Tom's eyes. Oh, wow, that's interesting. No, I don't like that. That's interesting. Oh, that's useful in my life. It's useful in my life. So you're going to take it and use it. Bruce Lee has a phenomenal quote. He didn't want there to be karate, judo. He wanted to be like, you're in a street fight, certain things work and certain things don't. So he always said, take what works, discard the rest, but learn from anybody. And so I would hope that somebody would approach Alex Hormozy, myself, anybody else and say, oh, 99% of what Tom says is totally useless in my life for the things that I value. Oh, but that 1%, cool, I'm going to take that and use it. And as long as I or anybody else maintains a threshold of utility per second, per minute, however you want to think about it, then engage. And the second it drops below a threshold that you decide of utility per minute, then unsubscribe and go watch somebody else's content. I totally get that. I reject the vast majority of the content that's out there because I've just decided that these are the, whatever 75 people that I'm going to listen to. And every now and then I'll find somebody new, but I'm just looking for what has utility in my life. So I want people like, dude, if you value your relationship and having children and you don't care about getting rich, then it doesn't make sense to go watch content about getting rich, right? So to put a funny spin on this, oh God, what's his name? The guy that did the original Office.
Oh, Ricky Gervais.
Ricky Gervais, thank you. So he was like, if you don't like my comedy, then don't watch it. He goes, yelling at me because I did a comedy special that you didn't have to watch in the first place. It's like walking by and seeing that somebody's offering guitar lessons and grabbing the phone number off the thing and going, I don't want guitar lessons. So it's like, you don't need to watch an episode about how wealth really works, which is, I think, what the episode was titled. You don't need to watch that. I'm not judging you. Like, I don't have a moral judgment on anybody, man. I want people to live the life they want to live. So yeah, take what works, ignore the rest.
Love it. Love it. I think that's it. That's the last one.
All right.
That's all I got.
There it is, everybody. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. And until next time, my friends, be legendary. Take care. Peace. Fires continue to rage across California, fueling heated debates on who's spinning misinformation and whether we need more or fewer regulations to rebuild LA. Chamath letting no one in LA off the hook for the high winds excuse. Zuck inspired an inspired rant.